half in the bag.
I'm in my underwear.
This book sucks. Want to watch a movie on streaming?
Do I have to leave the house?
No, it's on streaming.
Oh, then yes. What do we got? Oh, let's watch whatever this is. It's the first thing that showed up. Let's watch it.
Quiet!
I can't see. Your fat head's in the way.
Quiet! Wow, we just got done watching a movie on streaming. Would you like to watch another movie on streaming?
No, sure. Let's watch another movie.
Let's see what's next.
Okay.
Let's watch this.
Okay.
Play.
What is this?
Quiet! I'm trying to watch a movie on streaming. Wow, we just got done watching a second movie on streaming. Would you like to watch another movie on streaming?
No, sure. Let's do another movie. We'll watch another one on the streaming. Make it play. You're facing the wrong direction.
Oh my god.
TV's that way.
I thought you were the TV.
Nope. You gotta point the remote at the TV.
What?
Put the remote at the TV.
What are we doing?
We're gonna watch another movie on streaming.
Another movie?
That's the third movie.
Jesus Christ.
We're gonna watch a third movie on streaming now. Let's put it on.
Power. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Play. Well, we just got done watching a third movie on streaming. Want to watch a fourth movie on streaming?
No, let's talk about the 3 movies on streaming that we watched. Talk about all 3 movies.
Okay.
It'll be a review extravaganza.
3 movies nobody cares about. One bit.
When we talk about movies that everybody's seen, people say, why don't you talk about some smaller movies? And then we talk about smaller movies and people say, I've never heard of that movie. Why are you talking about this? It's like we can't win.
Wow.
You want to talk about these 3 streaming movies that nobody gives a shit about?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
But first I have a cold beverage. You should have a cold beverage too. Okay, have it.
Cheers, cheers to movies.
Oh, thank God this plot device makes me not have to wear this hat and glasses anymore. I suddenly feel less old. Let's talk about films.
All right, let's do it.
I took some steps in setting healthy boundaries and blocked my dad online. He's never really been there for me when I needed him, and I'm done with that.
Did you delete your profile? Kind of the main way I was staying in touch with you.
Well, we're talking about, I guess we'll call this the indie movie extravaganza.
Triple feature.
Triple feature of smaller movies, smaller releases. I guess the biggest one is probably the Blumhouse one, right? Because it's Blumhouse.
They go in descending order, and it's interesting. I wanted to point this out to you, Jay.
Okay.
I did a little bit of research. Of course, the biggest out of the 3 films is the B.J. Novak directed film Vengeance, which I believe, I looked up the box office for this, and we have to have a quick discussion about this.
Okay.
Vengeance, I think, pulled in, as of today, $3.9 million worldwide. Watcher then comes in the second place with 1.9 million worldwide. I Love My Dad, the Patton Oswalt movie, worldwide gross $94,000.
Okay.
And so I'm like, wow, that's not a whole lot of money.
No, it's not.
And I'm like,
But that also doesn't include renting it on streaming for $20 a pop, because these all, I think, were like same day, right? Theater and VOD. Vengeance maybe got a little theatrical window.
And obviously it depends on the width of the theatrical release. I'm sure I Love My Dad didn't get 3,000 screens, right? Probably a few in some art house theaters. But then does this box office revenue include streaming?
I don't believe it does.
How do you report that? And I don't know. But is it making 10 times this on streaming, right? I don't know.
I'm gonna guess not, but I don't know because they don't release those numbers.
Right, and
They don't release any numbers. Like that Prey movie, Hulu just said it's the most viewed movie or TV show on our service. It's like, what does that mean?
Ever?
I mean, I don't doubt that, I guess, but what does that mean? They they don't release the numbers, and I guess they don't have to, but it makes it harder to gauge how well a movie's doing.
yeah. Well, another way to gauge its exposure, because obviously, like I found out about I Love My Dad on Twitter. I think I saw Patton tweeted something.
Okay.
That was the way I found out about this movie. I probably would have saw it when it appeared on streaming, on whatever, Amazon Prime, Vudu. I use Vudu and people think I'm on the payroll of Vudu. It's just a really simple app that has, you use Apple.
Yeah.
I just have Vudu. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry.
Voodoo's owned by Walmart, which means you're not a shill for Voodoo. You're a shill for Walmart.
It's owned by Walmart?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Which makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Here's naive old me, and I go, should I rent and or buy this on Amazon Prime, the big conglomerate, or should I give some money to the little guy Voodoo? And here I am giving money to Walmart.
To Walmart.
Well, my opinion has changed a bit, but really I don't care.
I just started a different page under a different name.
I met someone online. She's like smart, funny,
And you've like talked to her on the phone and stuff?
obviously.
I guess we'll talk about I Love My Dad first.
Sure.
We can go in sequential order.
Okay.
The director, James Morosini, I believe is his name.
Director, writer, star.
Yes.
Based on his real life, I guess.
I think so. I think it's,
Which muddies my critical opinion of it, but we'll get into that, I guess.
He seems to be mostly an actor. He directed a movie in 2018 called Threesome Thing. Like a threesome thing.
Okay.
And it's like two dudes that want to have a threesome with a girl, and then, it's like an hour and 15 minutes, and it looks kind of super low budget.
I vow to never leave your side, no matter what. And if things get hard, I'll be right there by your side, and I will not leave.
And that kind of had like middling reviews. It had one actual critical review. I'm like, so did Patton work with him in the past? Like, how did he just say?
He might have just been attracted to the material because it's kind of a unique story.
It is, yeah. And you want the dad character, because the premise of the movie is this young guy gets basically catfished by his dad.
His dad is always coming up with excuses to not see him. He's never around. So the son like defriends him on Facebook and all social media. So the dad creates an alternate account as a waitress, inspired by a waitress that he met.
Right.
To catfish his own son.
Yes.
And that's the premise of the movie.
Right. So he can keep talking to his son.
Yeah.
So I think the dad character is he's unsympathetic at first, and then the point of the movie is their relationship gets stronger towards the end. So I think, like, if you want to cast someone who kind of looks like he could be a sleaze but is also lovable, you cast Patton, and who's
He's the best thing about the movie. His performance is very good.
right.
I'm not perfect.
You're not fucking perfect.
Yeah, I just said I wasn't, okay?
Well,
I'm
you're
trying.
really not.
I'm here now. If I gotta do every little thing for the rest of my life to make up for it, I will.
I don't, and this is when I say things get murky. The main character, who's also the writer, director, star, based on his real life, he's suicidal. He's had suicide attempts. And if that's real, then it makes him very hard to have any sympathy for Patton Oswalt, because the kid's emotionally unstable, and the things he's doing as far as like catfishing and lying to his son are so awful And I don't know how accurate it is to real life. And if the movie's anything like real life, then the kid, has kind of mended his relationship with his father, so that's great. But just looking at it as a movie and ignoring the real world aspects of it and how fucked up that situation is to do to someone who's emotionally damaged and suicidal, it's really hard. Even though Patton's performance is good, it's really hard to get on his side.
But if it were he's just a kid who's in college and his dad is catfishing him because his dad wants to talk to him, and then at the end he finds out, the normal reaction would be, fuck off, The fact that he did have a prior suicide attempt adds so much weight and stakes to Patton's terrible plan. For it
I agree with that.
To go wrong.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh my God, and that's what makes it because it's a fairly light, simple story. So it almost needs big stakes other than, our relationship is now ruined forever. When before it was just pretty ruined. If it was like his dad and him had a great relationship and his dad was like, you should start dating some girl. And then he finds a girl and catfishes him, then the stakes are that when he finds out, it's going to ruin their relationship. But at present, their relationship is bad. If he finds out, it would just get worse. But the fact, like that scene when Patton's panicking because he's going into the diner and blah, blah, blah.
That gets
And you're like, I don't know what this kid's gonna do. And then Patton's ex-wife, Amy, played by Amy Landecker, finds out about it, and then it's just everything starts unraveling. Good drama.
How did you know that actress's name that plays his ex-wife in the movie? I had no idea who that was.
Amy Landecker.
She looked mildly familiar.
She's in tons of stuff.
Okay.
The reason why I know her name, she's from Chicago. And growing up, my mom would always listen to oldies. And there is a DJ named John Records Landecker.
WLSM, there's kind of a hush all over the world. John Landecker from Chicago with Motown for more people. Nothing you can say.
And I always remember that name. Then I accidentally discovered one day that she is the daughter of John Records Landecker.
Okay.
So that's how I know her name.
All right.
But yeah, she plays his wife, and then of course Rachel Dratch is in the film. And we should mention that these reviews will be spoiler-filled.
Sure.
So we're gonna say jump to the next review if you don't want things spoiled.
Yeah.
Kind of spoiled the ending a little, but I think it's all kind of spelled out in the trailer. The movie opens with a really great, wonderful little way of introducing Patton's character as a sleaze when the younger version of our main character finds a dog and says, what if this is somebody's dog that's lost? And he goes, Patton goes, and then they see a lost dog poster and he rips it off. So, and so you're like, it's super off-putting.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a darker movie because of that.
Right.
More of like a Bad Santa kind of grimy tone or something.
Father of the Year with...
World's Greatest Dad.
I'm sorry, yes.
I was thinking of that movie during this a little bit.
Robin
Williams,
Williams, yeah. Well, that was ooh.
That's a great movie.
Also have suicide in it.
Yeah, that's actually probably hard to watch now.
But
this doesn't get that dark.
It doesn't get dark, and
it has dramatic moments. But I think that's part of my problem too. Is it's like they build up and again, this is based on the movie, not anything with the real life actor, writer, director.
Sure.
If he had suicidal tendencies, I'm glad he's still around.
We're gonna ignore the real life connection.
Yeah, but in the context of the movie, they do build that up as far as that's the stakes. Like you could completely destroy your son with this fucked up lie you're telling. And then when the truth comes out, that's just kind of the end of it. He just sort of forgives him. It doesn't feel like, by the time you get to the ending, it doesn't feel like those stakes, they've kind of been abandoned a bit. I didn't feel any sort of dramatic weight after it was revealed as far as what it was doing emotionally to the main character.
And I also was missing a really strong, because to me the movie is about the Patton character. It seems to evenly focus on the son and the dad.
Yeah.
And I think I would have liked to have a little more backstory of why Patton was so like selfish and self-absorbed. And
Yeah.
they have the one backstory with the chess.
Oh, yeah.
There's the dog thing in the beginning, but then the chess thing, which was nice. That's, you know, and they show that shot of him, and he's like, "I do this thing," and it's just like, oh, we've all known people like that.
Right.
And you're like, what do you get out of that? What do you get out
Just
of
cheating people and-
But the crux of that is when Patton tries to fix the situation that he's in by doing that exact same thing, which is like pretty much the centerpiece of the movie.
One of the most uncomfortable scenes you'll see in a movie this year.
Yeah. I didn't care about any of that. Like, it's like, whatever.
I thought that was all pretty disturbing,
thought
which
it-
is what they were going for, and that's fine. It's just, but that's the apex of how fucked up this situation is.
And you
He has to
wanted...
perform phone sex with his son. He's using Rachel Dratch as like the middle person, and
Yes, he's copy pasting her like sexual talk, so he didn't have to do it himself. I felt like I didn't get deep into his character, Patton's character, where it's like, why is he such a shithead? Why is he so full of him? Is that just the way he is? And why is he so really obsessed about reconnecting with his son if he's such an asshole in the past? What changed?
right.
Other than the impetus or whatever in the movie is that the son finally blocks him.
I took some steps in setting healthy boundaries and blocked my dad online.
And that kind of like sets him off. But really some other moment that might have been more like internal or personal, like, because Lil Ray Howard's in it, you know, and he's the comic relief character, obviously, but
He's the one that kind of gives him the idea to.
yeah, indirectly. But
Yeah.
Say if Little Ray Howard's like, "Oh, my son's graduating from high school today," you know, and Patton goes with for some reason, and he sees the son walk and get the diploma, and they're hugging, and he sees like some kind of like
Sees how proud the dad is.
how proud the dad is, and then has like a moment where he realizes like, oh, I don't have that with my own son, you know, and then you have that, and then like a really strong, they have that fight in the hotel room where they're just screaming and yelling, but if there was some sort of like revelation about why he's a shithead, his own dad did this to him, blah, 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 blah. Like there's ways you could beef it up, and it all felt very like, it's an easy watch, and it was good.
That's fine.
But you don't want the takeaway to be that Patton is smooching his son or some young dude, and they're like open mouth kissing. You know what I mean? Like that's the talk about kind of stuff, and that's what a lot of the comments were like. Cringe. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's in there. And that was a clever way of doing the texting thing, was the real life person.
I'm glad they didn't do like a lot of movies. They'll just have like the text pop up on the side of the screen. Like, yeah, having when he thinks he's talking to the waitress character, who's actually his dad, he is physically talking to her. That was nice.
The performances all around are good. Of course, everyone loves some Rachel Dratch.
What'd you think of those pictures?
Which ones?
The ones of my pussy?
I like them.
Yeah, you like them?
They turn me on.
She's very funny in this. That deadpan.
She's great.
Just looks miserable. Like, yeah, she's great.
Open your mouth. Wider. Wider.
It's a pleasant movie that never gets a little deeper like I would have liked it to.
What is your motivation here? What's your end goal? And he doesn't really have one.
Yeah.
And then, of course...
Well, and then the final, like, when everything comes to light, it's because he's been pushed to the point where he has no choice but to reveal everything, as opposed to doing it on his own, which would have made him a more kind of, I don't know, sympathetic... Him taking the initiative to finally tell the truth.
Yeah.
He just kind of keeps saying, "Oh, I'll do it eventually. I'll get around to it," and he never does. So you don't have that character growth that would have maybe made the character a little more sympathetic.
The son, he's like the straight man. He's the MacGuffin, the fucking story. He's the thing that doesn't really need to change or do anything. He's
supposed to instigate change in the father character.
He's the plot device.
Yeah.
And the father character is what we need. We need flashbacks. We need backstory. We need internalization. We need him to. We need a reason why he just stopped giving a fuck about his son and blowing him off. What was he doing, other than pervy stuff with Rachel Dratch? Obviously, he had a divorce. But what was he doing that was so important? Like just working?
I don't know.
Wanted that.
Yeah. But knowing that it's based on a true story, a fascinating story.
Sure. Your dad catfishes you.
to such an extent that he has to have phone sex with you.
I hope that stuff didn't really happen.
I don't know.
That sounds like artistic liberty.
Just for the sake of coming up with a memorable scene.
Maybe, yeah. That's that.
That's that movie. It's on streaming. You can watch it.
Și tu? You don't speak Romanian.
Watcher. I thought it was great.
No, but it's a really well-made movie that we've kind of seen a lot of before. It's a good movie. I liked it a lot, but it is like character's being stalked and no one believes her. It's a trope we've seen a million times, but it's really well done. It's very simple, kind of like when we were talking about Prey, how it just stays so focused, and it's very like...
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, it's very like methodical and straightforward in a way that works as far as building the tension goes and making you kind of feel like you're in the shoes of the character. Maika Monroe, who I haven't seen in a little while. She was in It Follows and The Guest, like back to back.
A couple other small things, I think.
Do you remember she played the president's daughter in Independence Day 2? Because they had there was the little girl in the original movie, and even though that little girl grew up to be a working actress, they didn't cast her for Independence Day 2. They cast Maika Monroe.
I forgot about that.
Unfortunately, for that actress. But
I thought that was Millie Bobby Brown.
That's the Godzilla movies.
Whatever. Who gives a fuck?
But no, she's what kind of holds the whole movie together. She's really good. She's very like natural and understated, not very show-offy.
Your typical indie actress.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and she's still not like super famous to where she's not a Sandra Bullock in the role. Of course, Sandra Bullock would be too old to play that role, but a young couple moves to Romania as an American audience. That's also adds a nice layer of uncomfortableness to it because...
Well, her kind of isolation.
He's working some kind of job doing something, and she has to live in this apartment by herself, and she's in a country when she doesn't speak the language, and some people speak English, but a lot of them just don't.
And it's not subtitled, which is great.
Yes. And so she's just kind of like, and if it took place in like Los Angeles or something, it would have a completely different feel.
Well, a lot of people have that kind of anxiety of like going to another country where you don't speak the language and that frustration and feeling of loneliness and
moving there and not knowing anybody.
Yeah. So that adds a lot to it, which is why it's a little more forgivable because it has that trope of like, oh, nobody believes her, and it works better in this movie than it does in other movies because of that. It's like, you're just paranoid because you're in a new country with a bunch of people you don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, I know what you're saying, but I didn't get that strong of a vibe. I felt like it was fairly grounded realistically, where it was, the husband was like, what? Like, what's going on? And
He's not comically dismissive
He's not
the way like a
yeah.
more like a bigger budget mainstream movie would be.
Exactly.
He's kind of like, oh, the guy followed you into the grocery store. We can go. Maybe they'll show us the security cam footage.
And he tries.
He tries a little bit.
They involve the police, and the police go over there, and they're like, what's going on? And but it had that kind of like, I don't know. At first I was like, why aren't you getting drapes? Why aren't you getting drapes? Address the drapes. Address the drapes. Every 2 minutes I was yelling that. And then I think they get drapes.
Yeah. Eventually, right? Well, it becomes more than just the guy. I mean, that's a creepy image anyway, just like looking out the window and someone's just staring at you. But then it becomes more of like a stalker situation. It kind of escalates very slowly, which I liked.
Very slowly.
Well, that's, like I said, it's so simple. It's
like a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, a little bit of Hitchcock, a little bit of Roman Polanski, Rosemary's Baby kind of stuff.
She's like watching through the window at the goings on and all the apartments. I'm like
Rear Window, yeah.
No, I was thinking of the birds.
Oh, of course.
Because some birds landed on the roof.
Oh.
Tension, and then the neighbor, and then we have a little in connection with vengeance. We have Chekhov's gun, literal Chekhov's gun, paralyzation.
There's this playwright, Anton Chekhov, and he says that if there's a gun in Act 1 of a play...
There's no guns in any one of these plays I can think of. Cherry Orchard, no. Uncle Vanya,
I'm not
no.
actually that familiar with this place. I'm more familiar with this theory.
In this, when the neighbor woman shows her that she's got a gun in the drawer.
I thought that was weird in the movie when she kept pointing at the gun and doing that.
I really liked the ending. It was very like brutal and twisted and not dramatized. I don't think they had music, and it was just really like blunt and horrific.
There was a moment where I thought it was going to get like dark ending. I was like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they went that dark. Like,
I figured this would be right up your alley, something like this.
I liked it, yeah.
Especially the director's credentials.
Well, I looked her up. Is this her first feature?
Yes, the other thing was 21 minutes. It was a short.
Well, she did one of the segments for the most recent VHS movie, VHS 94.
Okay.
She directed a segment in that about a giant rat monster that lives in the sewers named Ratma.
Okay, why don't we cut to commercial? Jesus fucking Christ!
So I'd seen that. That's the only...
Well, in 2014, she made a short for some kind of horror festival, and it's like a grindhouse-looking... there's a trailer, and it's very grindhousey, and I think it looks like it's shot on film. It takes place in the 80s or 70s. It's called and it's about a girl in Texas who gets the attention of a serial stalker.
Oh, okay. It's a little connection to this movie.
Similar, woman in trouble by a creep. I think this is the film that I noted the sound was very, very raw sounding.
I noticed early on, I think it's like their first night in the apartment, they're laying in bed having a conversation and it's raining outside, and the sound design, like the rain is just a little bit louder than it would be in a more conventional movie.
When do you have to wake up tomorrow?
Early.
Wake me up before you leave, okay?
Well, I think it was almost all live audio.
Stale peanuts and sweaty strangers.
Why did you think I didn't like the place?
Because you smile too much.
Francis, was it him?
Because they're moving around the apartment, it's like rustling and creaking and very loud noisy soundtrack.
Yeah, and it could just be a lot of Foley to give it that sound. I don't know.
It wasn't like, you know, creaking floor, the Foley that you would do. It was like that sound that shouldn't be there. You ever listen to like the scratch tracks from like TV shows?
Oh, sure,
where it's like on everything. There was a lot of stuff like that in this movie, and I liked that because it didn't seem as polished as like you just wipe it clean and ADR everything and then add in music and a couple little sounds.
Everything felt really natural.
It was like a classy kind of thriller. It felt old school, like almost like throwback.
Yeah.
I think it was the fact that it was in a foreign country and there wasn't cell phones and Twitter and TVs and like it's like noir-esque, because you got the neighbor who's like, she's like a stripper or something, and she's just like, let me tell you about my stripping. I have a gun.
Well, and then there's scenes where Macon Monroe's wandering around the streets at night by herself, and yeah, it's got kind of a noir feel to it as well.
Right. She's investigating a mystery. She's trying to solve a mystery.
Oh.
So yeah, I think to me it's a winner. I really enjoyed it. It was nice film. Now, let's move on to Threat Level Midnight.
Okay.
I'm in West Texas, where this family just lost their daughter to an opiate overdose.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's not someone I was close to.
But you flew to Texas for it?
Jay, I'm going to predict that you fucking hated this movie.
No. I thought it was interesting. I thought the story was interesting, and the direction it took with, because when it started, I was like, oh, fuck this.
People say guys like us are afraid of commitment. No, we're afraid of commitment to something we can't get out of.
There's no such thing as fear of commitment. Fear of commitment is fear of regret.
100%. Or fear of intimacy. Please, I'm intimate with everybody.
Like that opening over the credits with B.J. Novak, and was that John Mayer?
It was John Mayer.
And they're just, I was like, oh, fuck these characters, this is gonna be obnoxious. And I know that's the point. I was like, okay, intentionally obnoxious characters, I don't even care if it's intentional, it's gonna drive me crazy.
It was like a scene right out of Swingers.
Yeah, only 20 years too late and not nearly as likable as Vince Vaughn.
Instead of saying babies, he was saying 100%.
Yeah, so right off the bat, I was like, uh-oh, I'm gonna be in for a bad time. But then the premise gets set up, he has to go to this Texas town, and I was like, oh, obnoxious city guy, and these dumb yokels, these rednecks, and then it subverts that a little bit. And I was like, okay, this is a little more interesting. I think my biggest problem with it is that I don't think B.J. Novak is a very good actor, and I don't think he works as the likable asshole character. He works as the asshole on The Office. He works as Ryan, but speaking of Swingers, like obviously he's too old for the part now, but like a younger Vince Vaughn, I could see really working in this role. And I don't think B.J. Novak really does. So that was my biggest hang up with the movie, because I liked a lot of it outside of that. I liked that it kind of kept surprising me with the characters, and it never felt, and it comments on this, it never felt like smug with the way it presents the characters. And I really found that to be a breath of fresh air from what I was expecting.
Yes, and that's funny you got that from the beginning, because if you watch the trailer, the movie completely subverts the trailer, or vice versa.
Oh.
The trailer makes it look kind of like it's a funny kind of comedy, where this enlightened podcaster from Brooklyn comes down to rednecky Texas, and all the clips in the trailer are the jokes that just pop out in the movie as being like, that's from the trailer. That's from the trailer. Like when he does the Texas Tech or Texas A&M or whatever, University of Texas, I don't know. That part.
He assumes everybody's going to applaud, and he's the only one because it's the opposing college. Yeah.
Right. And so that's like, because B.J. Novak wrote for The Office, so he has very smart comedic writing, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the scene with the grandma, a 45 is not gonna solve this problem. Oh, yeah, and BJ Novak's like, yes, you're right. Violence is, nope, we need a shotgun, a double-barreled shotgun, 3 sidearms, and you're like, hey, jokes. And then, we love Whataburger, and it's like, okay, so this guy's gonna go there, and it's gonna be lots of fish out of water jokes of this, enlightened New York man who loves PBS and podcasting and comes to this Texas town and everyone's a redneck.
That's what I was worried about early on, yeah.
These are really your daughters? I mean, you all could be sisters.
Oh. You think that I look this fucking old?
And that's how the trailer portrays it. I'm going to investigate the mystery. His girl, not girlfriend, but a girl, this is the premise, a girl he hooked up with a couple of times dies of a drug overdose. Mm-hmm. And the family thinks that they were more serious. And that picture at the funeral, I wish it was the only picture. For a while I thought it was. There's her casket, and next to the casket is a picture of her kissing his cheek, and he's got like a drink, and he's like, and most of the picture is his face at her funeral. There's not even a nice picture of her, and I laughed so much at that. That is just so like, you could just feel those like office-y kind of like moments.
And this is El Stupido.
Sorry?
This is El Stupido.
That's what you call him?
Oh, it's okay, Ben. He don't speak Spanish.
But he had a bigger goal with this, and I think one of the first scenes that was really good was the Ashton Kutcher music producer scene, right?
I was shocked by Ashton Kutcher in this movie.
It's the sound that you scratch with your life on the record of the universe.
He goes to this recording studio, and then he gives these like really great like speeches. He's motivating this girl to sing, and then he's like, him and BJ Novak are having this conversation, intellectual conversation. I love that
he knows a lot about like art and philosophy.
Yeah, he's talking about like.
You think half the people that are posting quotes from Oscar Wilde have ever actually read one of his plays?
No. Her posting photos of Audrey Hepburn have actually seen the film that it's from?
No, not a chance.
I like when he's talking about like meme culture, and he's like people that post a picture of like Audrey Hepburn, probably never seen an Audrey Hepburn movie.
Yeah.
And in BJ Novak, you could just tell in his face he's like shocked,
Yeah.
And they even reference that. He's like, "What, do you expect me to be just like some kind of redneck?" And he's like, "Well, yeah."
I want something more. I don't just want to be a writer. I want to be a voice. As dorky as it sounds, I care about America. And now I see it falling apart, and we're just standing in the corner like making fun of it, I'd like to try to tell some story that connects.
And so he legitimately seems like his character is wanting to do a good job at his podcasting. He doesn't have an agenda, and he seems fairly like open-minded.
This is about a new American reality that people can't accept. So instead, they invent these myths and conspiracies so they can cast themselves as heroes because the truth is too hard to accept.
Well, I like that it becomes about bigger than just the plot of the movie.
The murder investigation.
It maybe puts too fine of a point on it with Ashton Kutcher's kind of speech near the end.
Yeah.
It's sort of like spelling out the themes of the movies, but it's still interesting because you don't see that a lot in movies, where he's talking about how like it becomes less about the specific story and more about like the culture we live in now with what is he says like everything means everything, where it's like they don't get super political, but just like flat earthers, where it's like just people just say things and it becomes reality. Everything just becomes a life of its own, and then it's just that reality for people.
Right.
Like the fact that I was not expecting the movie to get that big with its ideas based on kind of the premise and where it starts.
Yeah,
so.
right.
I gotta say, this is not anything like what I expected to find.
I like when he's on the phone with her brother at the beginning. He's trying to figure out where they are. It's like, where?
He's like, Austin, that's another planet. Dallas, that's another country. Right.
Remind me where you guys are, exactly.
Well, you been to Texas before?
Texas.
It's the perfect setting for the movie. Ironically, not filmed in Texas.
No?
Filmed in New Mexico.
Oh. They must have got tax breaks.
They're naive to some of the things that he's talking about, but then when they bring up the Alamo,
oh yeah,
you know, I thought we won the Alamo. You're always talking about it. It's like no.
How do you take your coffee?
In the mouth?
There's lots of humor in it, but I appreciate the effort to tell a bigger story, bigger ideas,
and not paint every character so broadly. But yeah, even just the initial setup of based on absolutely nothing. The dead girl's brother is like, I think she was killed by drug dealers, and that's the setup for the whole movie. And BJ Novak's like, what are you basing that on? It's like, nothing, like my gut. And so that idea that BJ Novak thinks this whole thing is ridiculous, and that it ends up getting fleshed out and becoming a much deeper story, like, it surprised me in a lot of ways when it comes to all the plotting of everything.
What's this podcast about?
A new American reality where people invent these conspiracies.
You got deep state, pill pushers, cartels, the law.
Because the truth is too hard to accept.
I looked up what BJ Novak was up to. This only lasted one season. It was only 5 episodes. It's called The Premise, an anthology of now. It's on Hulu.
My name is BJ Novak. I want to tell you about the show I made.
It's like, never heard of this.
I've never heard of this.
And so there's a little video of him, like, he's like, hi, I'm BJ Novak. This is my new show.
Meaningful issues.
Celebrity worship is better.
Explored through meaningless comedy.
Never forget a scrotum like that. Haunts my dreams.
That's it.
It's like little short episodes of Twilight Zone-ish, kind of like anthology, not like Black Mirror or something like that. And everyone is different, and they're all like, they all have some kind of political or modern day twist on like some kind of issue. But him making this vengeance movie now makes total sense based on what he did here. So and what his interests apparently are.
Yeah.
Like social satire, essentially.
Sure.
Ben Manalowitz, a successful writer and a regular contributor to New York Magazine.
The New Yorker.
But yeah, I think he wrote for like the New Yorker or New York Times or something, and then he wants to get into podcasting, and so he sees this as a story, and then the theme that keeps coming up is that it's not a murder mystery, it's a story is always about a person.
It's about the myths that we tell ourselves.
Who's it about?
All of us.
Every story we tell is ultimately about a person.
That's what Issa Rae says. She's like, it's about you. And he's like, no, I'm onto something. I unlocked her phone, and I got some new information, and I realized that there's something bigger going on. She's like, no, just end it. It's about you. And then that's kind of how it ends ultimately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're not looking for something like that and you just want like something lighter, you might be disappointed, which is kind of seemed like where the reviews were in the 70 percentile rating. And even the ones that were non-splats were like an unwieldy kind of ambitious effort that more or less paid off. You know.
Hey, I'll take a unwieldy ambitious effort over generic movie any day.
Where are you right now?
I'm in an Uber.
Oh boy, I think we've watched just about every movie that's available on streaming.
What about the Batman?
Nah, let's just watch Morbius again.
Okay. Oh, I love this part. Such a great film. It's one of the classics.
I got the whole thing memorized. I can do that dance.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
I can't dance no more.
Oh my God.